This next section is on hand rigs. Back to the demo character here and the way I've rigged the hand. You can see once again I've modeled up the palm of the hand with an edit mesh. I'll just turn that off for now so you can see how the bone structure is. This is a basic bone structure for a hand. One main hand bone, a thumb where the first joint is placed correctly down near the wrist. Your index finger, and I place the joint up at the first knuckle. You could actually attach it in and let it bend up and down a little bit as well, but I don't find that as necessary. Same thing with the next two fingers. And the baby finger, I actually add a joint all the way down near the wrist again, and this is because you can cup the palm of your hand by pulling and flexing the palm of your hand because of all the bones that are in your hand. So this helps me be able to do that as well. Now you could just grab and rotate these bones in animation, but that becomes very, very time consuming and difficult to go in and try and select and pick all these bones one at a time. So your average hand rig, and a very solid one, is to just wire or reactor control all of your joint rotations back to a series of sliders or spinners or something. Again, I ran into the problem of this is very time consuming for animating because you have to sit there and slide one at a time, one after the other, to try and get your pose that you want. And you find often that the poses you're going after are poses that you've used over and over and over again from one shot to another. For that reason, I developed an attribute holder. This attribute holder, the pen attribute holder, which is available from download from my site as well as on this DVD in the resources folder, allows you to be able to store poses for the spinners and sliders. In this case, I've stored one called point. And sliding the slider along basically takes you from whatever value the sliders are at currently to whatever value has been stored for that pose. Let go and the slider snaps back. You can also hit reset and it snaps all your hand back to its initial pose. Copy and paste, key all, and it just makes it much, much faster to animate all of these controls for a hand. You'll also notice I've put a separate control object on the back of the hand, and I didn't go and put this modifier on, say, the wrist control. That's because when you pick this object, it will show all the animation tracks for the hand. And when I pick the control for the wrist, it doesn't. If all the hand controls are on the wrist, I'd have a mess of keys for all my hand gestures as well as my overall large arm motions. I separated into two controls to make the animator's life easier in separating the kind of animation that you want. You really don't want your hand animation mixed in with your arm. They tend to be done at different times in different ways. So in this section we're going to discuss how to use the pen attribute holder. Once again, how to build an interface for our hands, connecting spinners and sliders together into a single attribute, and setting up a hand that's able to be posed and get the kind of gestures that you really need for animation. We're going to build the bones for the hand. Once again, I tend to start in the top viewport here. And now I'm going to create the bones first for just one of the fingers. I'm actually going to make the bones a bit smaller too, so they don't stick out too far. And I'm just going to start with an index finger. Getting the joint placement, like in any part of the body, is something you should pay attention to, making sure that it is actually in the right spot to do what you need. I'm going to use the bone edit mode a lot here